हाम्रो साथमा हुनुहुन्छ His Excellency Rob Penn, प्लिज उहाँलाई ताली दिनु होला। साथसाथै प्रतिष्ठा थापा रायमाझी हुनुहुन्छ, शी इज द कन्ट्री एक्जाम्स डाइरेक्टर एन्ड जनरल म्यानेजर अफ ब्रिटिश काउन्सिल नेपाल। साथसाथै प्रतिष्ठा म्याम, साथसाथै सौर्य खनाल म्याम हुनुहुन्छ हाम्रो साथमा, शी इज द प्रिन्सिपल अफ प्रसिद्ध मडल स्कुल एज वेल एज एन अमेजिङ एडुकेटर एज वेल। र हाम्रो साथमा आइपिपी हुनुहुन्छ, इमिडिएट पास्ट प्रेसिडेन्ट इक्यामका प्रकाश पाण्डे सर। मैले यो सन्दर्भ किन जोड्न खोजेको भनेर सोचिरहनु भएको छ भने यो एक्सिलेन्सी, as we were having lunch earlier, a few things I just shared. Late King Birendra Vikram Shahdev studied at Eton, as well as our former Prime Minister of Nepal, Shehbazu Deuba, Honorable Shehbazu Deuba, studied at the London School of Economics. Just giving few examples, future leaders we are creating right here, and all our friends who are watching right now, all our friends present here, you have made sure that the students get the best of the best education, and that's what I believe in. So again, a round of applause to all my friends here. The name of the panel today, the title of the panel is The Future of UK-Nepal Education Relations, and within this, I would also like to go ahead and mention the 209 plus years of relation that we've had with the United Kingdom. Your Excellency, we've had a chat about this on my podcast. I just want to start off by that. The relationship that we have with United Kingdom. It's not just education. It's personal connection. It's not just Gurkhas. It's our personal connection. Let's start off with that, Your Excellency.
Yes, it is personal. I think it began on the battlefield a long time ago, but it has quickly grown into something. It's the best example globally I know of a bilateral relationship driven by people, not by governments. This is very much a people-to-people link we're talking about, and I think the generations of Nepalis' own experience of British education, either in the UK or here in Nepal, mediated through the British Council and through other means, is central to the modern British relationship with Nepal. And I'm steward of that relationship, and I'm therefore extremely interested in the education part of it.
Yes, no shadow of a doubt on that. And I just want to quickly touch base and pick up on that. I want to directly come to Saurya ma'am right here. Ma'am, I read about it. I just want to touch base on this. You studied in the UK. How was your experience? I want to start off by that.
Okay, I would definitely agree. As I'm doing so much like little things in Nepal, I don't know how much Nepalese people are feeling proud of me, but I get messages and calls from my friends and colleagues, British colleagues there, saying that you're doing an amazing job, don't leave it. So definitely that relationship over there, they feel like I'm part of them. Even if I've left the country, doesn't matter, I'm always theirs. So that's warmth in there, definitely. And my story is very fascinating because I went in as a parent volunteer in one of the schools. And then I just volunteered to be a parent reader. The principal then called me and the head teacher called me and said, would you like to become an educator? And I said, I had no clue that I would become an educator. They said, I'll invest on you, but the catch is that you'll have to work for 2 years after you completed your degree. And I said, okay, fair enough. I was just sitting as a home housemaker. So I said, okay, and then they invested on me. And you know what, I had to start with GCSEs because my qualification from Nepal wasn't valid. So I sat with kids doing my GCSEs in the evenings, and that didn't give me like any less of a pride. And I used to work during the day as a learning support assistant, helping the teacher, and 4 years went by, and you know, like the whole pride of having 33 teacher standards, 4 mentors in the last year when I was given 99 targets, and I aced it. And that the whole thing about like doing it wasn't about salary anymore, it was about integrity. And that value, I brought it back to Nepal, and no other country would have given that to me. That's why I really feel good about Britain.
Wow, that's really amazing. And I just want to touch base on this and add to it that today Prasida Model School is a pinnacle of education, and again, you definitely use all the things that you learned when you're in the UK.
I think it's a little bit ahead of time because the community that I'm working in, it's in Balaju, Bogaratar. I don't think that community is quite ready for the inclusiveness that I'm talking about. I took a failing school and invested all my Amalidika paisa. It was my savings. In there, I just took the risk to include the children from all economic background, including my own child, and then wanted to invest myself as a resource to give them all the quality education that I could afford. And I thought like more than the physical aspect of it, because I had seen in England, our school buildings weren't that great like in here, and our facilities weren't that great. We used to buy chocolates and biscuits from our salary to feed our kids who came in hungry, because I worked in an East London school. So I had seen that it's not the matter of how much money the school invests, it's about the emotional intelligence and love.
Very true.
So that's what I'm putting in. I've got special ability children working, studying in mainstream school, and the community is still learning how inclusion should look like.
That's amazing. I want to come to Prakash sir right here. How has I want to talk about again. The topic is about future. I want to go a little bit slightly towards the past, since you're the IPP of ECAN as well. How has the collaboration been between universities here as well as universities in the UK, and what's the path forward? Not a problem. Nepalese universities could definitely benefit from the partnership, right? How has the partnership been previously, and what can we expect from our collaboration and partnerships towards the future?
Well, you've already gone through some of the past, and Esther has already spoken about the history that we've got. If we just go about the past, there has been a lot of engagement from UK universities for promoting the education over here in Nepal. If you just go by the number of institutions that offers UK degrees over here in Nepal, it's already more than 22. We already have more than 15,000 Nepalese students studying in Nepal, the UK courses. And not just that, if we just go by the last few years' data, we have around 23,000 plus students currently studying in UK. So the kind of engagement that UK brings in terms of education in Nepal is immense. Our students have really found UK qualification to be one of the life-changing education that they want to achieve. They've been doing that over here in Nepal, staying back here with their families, they attend UK qualification, and there are plenty with new changes, positive changes in the UK visa policy. A lot of international students who aspire from globally as well as Nepal are there, and Nepal is currently the 6th largest source country for UK. So you can check from that Nepali students do value UK education a lot.
6th largest, that's what you just mentioned, right? Pratishta ma'am, I just want to touch base on that itself. British Council's role in facilitating as well as also understanding the students' needs. If you could touch base on that and share it with everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay. I think British Council in Nepal in the last 66 years, we've been working in not just in education, but a lot of work has happened in arts and culture as well, where we engage with the youth of the country. In education particularly, we're known as the IELTS examiners, but we do a much more than that. We facilitate Cambridge A-level exams, where more than 7,000 students get A-level qualifications every year through our partner schools. And that engagement that we have with youth, I think it's pretty life-changing for them. I'll give my own example. I'll start with that. I did my A-levels as well. I think I have to admit, I was quite privileged that I got to do my A-levels from one of the leading schools in Nepal, which was established by the British Council a very long time back. But that opportunity that I got for myself, I spent, I think, most of my studying hours in the British Council library, which unfortunately we don't have, but we do have digital libraries now. So for myself, and I did my ACCA as well through British Council again. For me, it was definitely life-changing. I think that was one of the reasons why I came to British Council. And now when I look at the work that we do, a few things I want to touch upon. One, yes, IELTS exam, that's life-changing for them because it opens door for students for several opportunities, be it in the UK or other educational destinations that they would want to. We try and engage with them at all levels, not just during the exams. We work with associations like ECAD and other partner associations where we're reaching out to them through trainings, whether it is for IELTS or for other educational aspects as well.
That's amazing, and obviously I just want to mention that when I was slightly younger, I visited the library as well, and we spent a lot of time in the library right next to the British Embassy's gate. So again, I myself am somehow close to the British Council and the library. So thank you for that. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and thank you so much to the British Council. Your Excellency, the conversations that we generally have is between ourselves, that we've casually talked as well, British Council's here. I want to understand the government's perspective as well. How could we fast track it to make the lives easier for the students? What's the perspective from our government side where we could definitely make it better as well? Any touch base on the collaborative part, just the collaboration. If we could, some kind of catalyst could come in and make it more easier. Anything you want to share on this?
Are you talking here in Nepal or in the UK?
In the UK as well and in Nepal as well. Maybe government to government, more we could do together?
So, first of all, I want to say that the UK is a kind of full spectrum partner for Nepal. We are deeply interested in the public sector education here. We are a decades-long partner of the Ministry of Education, and I am delighted that the Minister of Education is going to the UK next month to attend the sort of global get-together of Ministers of Education. It's called the Education World Forum, facilitated by the British Council, attended, as I say, by ministers from all over the world, just to talk education, generally public education. And our ODA programs here are very much focused on improving outcomes for secondary school, pre-university education in Nepal. Because Nepal has done a fantastic job of meeting the Sustainable Development Goal when it comes to access to education. But the quality of that education and the education outcomes are not satisfying the kids, clearly, because they're leaving. I mean, that's just, they're voting with their feet. So we have to keep working on the quality of education delivered in Nepal. The part of the answer, and I think a big part of the answer, is what the experts call transnational education. And we've had a reference to that already. It is two institutions getting together in whatever way they like. It's not a straitjacket, it's just a license to cooperate. I've seen it work fantastically well in other countries, and it's starting to take off here. And it's also a bit of a magic bullet for keeping the kids in the country. If we can deliver UK standard education in Nepal at local prices, why should people travel? And I think I've already shared with you my fears for if the wrong child travels, if the family doesn't have the resources to keep them safe and motivated in a foreign country, I don't want that student to travel, even if it's to the UK. The UK is a brilliant destination for the right child and the right family. But if the money is tight, we don't want people selling the farm, taking a terrible loan, and becoming indebted and miserable at their university. We want them to have that education here in Nepal with much better value. So that is kind of my current fixation, really, because it is a fabulous marriage of supply and demand. The demand here is obvious. We can see it everywhere. It's in every family I meet. The supply is there in the UK, bucket loads of it. We have thousands of universities. They would all like to collaborate with institutions in the UK, here in Nepal, and deliver this transnational education in whatever format the Nepali institution wants. It's incredibly flexible. It's not a takeover. It can be something as simple as delivering one course. But it can build into something really elaborate with academic exchanges in both directions, and who knows, ultimately, student exchanges in both directions. So I saw that in Indonesia. I would love to see it happen here. And the last thing I wanted to say about what we can do as governments. So the Minister of Education and we were very affected by the suicide in India. I don't want any young Nepalis to kill themselves in the UK if they get into, emotional problems. It's a very susceptible time in everybody's life, those student days. It is possible to fall off the grid, not to have the networks that you need to keep things in proportion when you are a student. So the Minister and I are generating an initiative with the help of the British Council to get Nepali students on the campuses of British universities to send us little films about their lives. Students are so brilliant at doing this. They do it anyway, basically.
This is going to go on all social media platforms, I believe?
Well, possibly yours as well. That would be great. I would like to hear from Nepali students in the UK, and I'll be working with your excellent ambassador in London as well. We need to have an open communication between that population of young Nepalis, every so often vulnerable, so that we can keep an arm around them. If the university is failing them, I want to know. And I can talk to vice chancellors and say, it's not working. You're not looking after, my clients, as it were. I'm very keen to do this.
And then, again, so to follow up on this, what about the government working with authorities in Nepal when it comes to visas as well, or slightly have more conversations on, not exactly regulation, but at least an overview of if the students are being exploited or not, if the students are being taken care or not. Are we doing more towards this in the future?
So on visas, I think there is a new phenomenon of some British universities lowering the English language qualification required. And I think that's a bad thing myself, and I'm investigating it. Because I think it does mean, it is a spectrum. A lot of students, bona fide students, want to go and study, but also then want to get a job. So there is this sort of whole sort of band of economic migration all the way through to brilliant academic excellence. And I think if we lower the standard of English too far, we will get a lot of kids showing up at British universities that actually cannot cope with an education in the medium of English, or they have a terrible experience at the frontier. So we, the British Embassy and the British Council, are looking into this issue of English language standards. On visas, the process is getting more modern. We're going to e-visas. Very shortly, it will not be necessary to have anything printed in Delhi.
It's all going to be digital, all through email?
It'll all be online. Your visa won't actually be in your passport. It will be on a database in the UK. You just need a proof of identity that will match you with that electronic visa. And there will be improvements to the customer experience in that context.
That's great to know. I'll jump to Professor and right before that. Professor, I just want to touch base on the thing that we talked about, not exactly just visas, but when it comes to transparency as well. And I want to understand ECAN's perspective as well. A lot of friends are here itself. When it comes to ethical practices and when it comes to transparency as well, how are we safeguarding the students?
See, as far as ECAN's standards are there, ECAN already has its code of conduct. We make sure our students and our parents' investments are safe. So there is a particular guideline that our consultants follow. So they normally need to inform students, parents about the kind of benefit that any courses that they tend to attend in the UK or any other country in the world would bring to them. On top of that, we offer a lot of trainings to our members. There are a lot of international counselor training programs being offered. British Council does it. If anyone wants to learn about UK education and the visa process, so our consultants go through that training. Be it for other countries, there are other agencies which offer similar sort of training programs. Our own VeriTI, one of the government authority over here in Nepal, offers counselor training. ECAN itself empower the agency to build the counselor training course. So what we do is we train our consultants a lot, give them updated information, and on top of that, we have our own codes of conduct that our counselors need to follow so that they are able to give the best of the information to our students and parents. That's where we focus on making sure the student and parents are getting the up-to-date and accurate information. As far as further continuation efforts are there, we make sure we engage a lot with the relevant agencies. For example, about a week back, we had a meeting with the ambassador, facilitated by the British Council itself. We made sure we raised the same issue that Ambassador just mentioned, that we know that there are not fair practice among all the consultants in the market. We know a lot of students are going to UK with the substandard language proficiency test or substandard language proficiency. So we wanted the government in UK to introduce a particular blanket policy, be it either internationally, if not only for Nepali nationals, that they have to have a mandatory language proficiency test attaining certain level so that they can prove that they really can go to UK and study in English medium. So we want to ensure that only the genuine ones and the best ones who have that academic ability, we have that language proficiency, and the financial abilities only go and pursue international education. What we believe at ECAN is international education is not for everyone. It is only for the ones who can really afford or either get the scholarship or has the academic and language proficiency.
I'll jump to that and I'll start off with the British Council. Sorry. I'll come to sorry ma'am on this. When you directly work as well as have conversations with students, young students and their parents, right? The amount of pressure that the young students have and the parents somehow, the peer pressure from within the community that their child, son or daughter need to go abroad. How big is that? How big do you think it really is?
I actually would not have known it if I hadn't joined college. I've only joined 4 months ago and in the role of counsellor. And I just realized that parents are petrified of their children nowadays. It used to be the other way around in our times. So they used to come, they come to me and say, don't tell my child that I saw you, and they'll be like having issues. I think in class 11 and 12 itself, children are dropping out from coming to college. They don't want to come to college anymore. And partly I don't blame them because they know how they should be taught. Because by the tap of a thing, they could be taught by proper AI tutors or maybe Khan Academy or whatever not. And then coming into a constrained institution where there's like traditional way of teaching and they just know it's not right. So they have already made up their mind that they don't want to be confined to this for another 3 to 4 years. So that's their perception that I don't want to be in this. And then parents already also have that thing that if I send my child abroad, then that's one bigger responsibility done and I don't have to look after them for the rest of their life. We almost associate children's independence with going abroad. So that's one social misconception that we have to really think about. But besides that, as you were saying it, I was thinking about, like you were telling, His Excellency was telling us about what United Kingdom could give us. But I think Nepal can also offer a lot to United Kingdom, knowing that now bilateral relationship. A lot of children nowadays are going through mental health issues globally. So maybe World Health Organization has already predicted that in 20 years' time, 50% of the global population will be under some sort of mental health issues. So mindfulness and all of these and living the simplistic life, being comfortable in your pocket and not aspiring too high, those kind of things have to be started very early. And I really hope that we were saying what can we make our country's identification in terms of education earlier on. I just think it could be a country of Gurukul, where we bring in the best of British education and our ancient Nepali practice, and maybe the people, educators from all over the world can come, including Britain, can come and see what schools and how schools and colleges should be run. So always have high aspirations, I think. But yes, parents are on very verge of breaking down, and so are kids.
So are kids.
So are kids.
So are kids. It's both ways. Yeah. Parents as well as kids.
Yeah, and then not being able to open up and just shutting themselves because they are not being able to cope with their overthinking and all of these mind games that the world of virtual world has created upon them is a massive thing that we can't close our eyes to.
Let me ask a question let me open the floor for a brief minute since you mentioned this. यो प्रश्न म सबैजनालाई सोध्न चाहन्छु, हात उठाइदिनु होला हैन, यदि हजुरको अफिसमा चाहिँ हजुरको कन्सल्टेन्सीमा चाहिँ कोही साथी आउनु भएको छ, कोही सानो बाबु नानी आउनु भएको छ जसले प्रश्न त गर्नुहुन्छ कि म कुन देश जाउँ, म कता पढौँ, बेलायतमा पढौँ कि अरू कतै पढौँ भनेर, साथसाथै अन्य कुनै समस्याहरू भएको छ भने उहाँहरूले सेयर गर्ने ठाउँ पनि त हजुरहरू हुन सक्नुहुन्छ नि हैन। अन्य कुनै समस्याहरू पनि सेयर गर्नु भएको छ म्यामले भने जस्तै त्यो एकदमै प्रेसर अथवा फ्यामिली पियर प्रेसरको पनि त्यस्तो कुनै समस्याहरू सेयर गर्नु भएको छ कि छँदै छैन? एडुकेसनको मात्र कुराकानी गर्नुहुन्छ? म यो फ्लोरलाई सोध्न चाहे, सबैलाई एन्टायर फ्लोरलाई सोध्न चाहे मैले, यो एडुकेसनै छ हैन त मेजोरिटी। सो एक हिसाबले भन्नुपर्दाखेरि मेजोरिटी प्रश्न चाहिँ एडुकेसनकै हिसाबले चाहिँ आउँछ। सो म्याक्सिमम क्वेसन्स कम when it comes to education. Where should we go and study? That's the number one question that we have, right? I just want to touch base on this with the entire floor. Okay, moving ahead now, since we already jumped towards the when it comes to tests. So British Council is the key player in administrating English proficiency test. Ma'am, I just want to understand how could we go ahead and ensure that these tests remain fair, consistent, as well as accessible to students, not just in Kathmandu, but around Nepal?
Thank you. I think that's a very important question, especially at this age and time when I think 90% of our youth are looking to go abroad. It's one of the facilitations that we do. In terms of accessibility, British Council has been expanding in the last few years outside of Kathmandu as well. We are in over 10 cities, and we are delivering not just IELTS on paper, which is usually the go-to for everybody, but in this digital age, we're also expanding our footprints for IELTS on computer, which has a really good uptake. We just started in outside Kathmandu, started in Pokhara, Butwal, Chitwan, and now we're expanding in the east as well. We've seen that there is a demand from the students, and that's how we're moving towards it. Back to the fairness and integrity of the exam, I think IELTS, I can proudly say IELTS, regardless of who delivers it, it is one of the most premium high-stake tests for English language proficiency all over the world. We're recognized by more than 12,500 universities and organizations globally. And it's not just for UK or Australia, and even in the United States, it's very widely accepted these days. So in that sense, we know that the work that we do is quite important because there's a lot of trust in the process. So whenever we're delivering the exams, there is a certain IELTS policy and guidelines that we have to follow. Everybody has to follow. We ensure that we do put in more than 100% in ensuring the integrity. All the venue staffs that we use, they're fully trained. We've had cases when there have been people who've tried to do imposters. We've caught those. We've had students or candidates who've tried different means, but I think with the right training that our venue staffs have, we've avoided all those, not just in Nepal, outside as well. And in terms of, I think, just overall how people perceive IELTS, we've seen that there are other tests as well, which are equally good. Some are okay. I mean, it depends on what you're using for. But with IELTS, it's not just for your higher education, but it is trusted by KPI and other immigration authorities too. So I think it does add up to some pressure for us, but I think the team is doing a great job.
Well, again, very well said. And how could Nepali students prepare effectively for these tests? Asking you, and the same question is going to be for Prakash as well.
I think we have a room full of educators for IELTS here, and thanks to all of them. They've been doing an excellent job. We try our best to support their instructors with the trainings that we provide, whether it's face-to-face training, not just in Kathmandu, we do that outside Kathmandu as well. And there are lots of online training as well for the teachers. Specifically for the students, when they sign up with IELTS with British Council, we always try and motivate our B2B partners and the students as well to sign up with the early, because once they book and pay for their IELTS, we have an excellent material online. It's called IELTS Ready Premium, We have around 40 mock tests that students can actually practice and get feedback as well. So that if somebody does that diligently, we've had students who've come to us, given testimony saying like, I just used that for my final prep and that really helped. So if students are looking at maybe like 3 to 4 weeks of time for their prep, we would actually suggest that as well. There is IELTS coach online too, in case somebody does not have the time to go to physical classes. We offer those as well.
Well, that's great to know. And Prakash, if you want to add on this, because
Exactly. Since there's a lot of online resources, it's much easier for our students these days. But this hall, probably 50% of them do represent some consultancies already. And if someone is happy with the digital experience, of course, there's the online resources. But if they want the personal touch, personal guidance from the tutors, we have British Council trained tutors. We've gone through the insights of the IELTS test. So it's not just about you have the language proficiency, it's about exam and you got to perform there, you got to manage the time, and you are being offered different set of questions on different range, like you got a spoken section, you got reading section, you got writing. So they just got to be sharp in making sure that they manage the time and understand the question and deliver the answers. That's when we really think that the students are capable of studying well. They are able to grab what the tutors are going to deliver them at the university as well. And all our members do prepare our students a lot, help them attain the score they require. So always, I mean, we often say at the ECAN, get counseling from ECAN members. So anyone who needs the training for IELTS as well, of course, our consultants who are ECAN or partner of our FACE Nepal, we encourage them to go through the trained tutors and those agencies. Thank you.
and a big thank you to all our friends right here. A big thank you to all our friends. This is very generous. Your Excellency, do you think there's room for greater consistency in when it comes to English proficiency testing and recognition as well?
It's giving me flashbacks to my own Nepali language exams. It's just hell being tested in a foreign language. I still haven't passed the reading part, the large chunk of the Devanagari script.
Chidai sakincha. Chidai, very soon.
Sakifama. I think obviously you can always make a good system better, but I do think IELTS and everything around it is good enough. I think our problem is with institutions that don't require IELTS. Or something of equivalent rigor, and then you start kind of sucking into your country people who cannot cope, and that is a problem for both parties.
यो म जोडिहाल्न चाहन्छु महामहिजीको नेपाली एकदम राम्रो छ है म यो भनिहाल्न चाहन्छु है I just want to share this with everybody. His Excellency is very good in Nepali as well. यही सन्दर्भमा along this line I want to open the floor right now before I move on towards two more topics that I have. Any specific questions friends have when it comes to testing? Feel free. Any question on the floor? If you have anything that you want to go ahead and ask right away when it comes to proficiency testing or anything specific that you would love to ask, please feel free. You can raise your hands up and feel free, ask a question. Go for it. Anything to the British Council that you want to ask? Please feel free. I'll come back at the end as well. केही प्रश्न रहेका छन् भने चाहिँ अहिले नै स्पेशली टेस्टिङको हिसाबले चाहिँ के सोध्न चाहनुहुन्छ भने सबैजना मुसमुसो हाँस्दै हुनुहुन्छ सो I'll move towards research and innovation, right? Anytime, right? Anytime. 5 days a week? 5 days a week, anytime. And then 9 to 5, anytime. 24 hours, 9 to 5, exactly. I'll move on towards, I remember having a conversation with His Excellency when you were on my show. We were right after the business forum. We were having the chat right after the business forum. Economy is very big with yourself as well, and very big with me as well, and all our friends right here. UK government supporting to foster more joint research and collaboration between Nepal and UK institutions. I read an article on this as well, and I quickly want to touch base on technology and sustainability, Your Excellency. Tech and sustainability. How big is this with the UK, and how could we collaborate and work towards it together?
Tech in the IT sector is the great hope, I think, for Nepal. It is geography proof, and Nepalis are clearly expert in this sector because they're working in it all over the world. And what I want to see is these good jobs available in Nepal, that they don't have to emigrate in order to be a software engineer. There are a number of very impressive startup companies here in Nepal already employing Nepalis. Although there is a risk that it just becomes a kind of conveyor belt out of the country. You know, I spoke to the Fuse Machines CEO and asked him, you know, how many of his graduates, kids he's trained in the use of AI to do business consultancy globally. How many of these kids had actually stayed in Nepal? And the answer was none, not one. They had all gone somewhere. So we have to be very careful in our interventions. But yes, I think technology is one of our big hopes. In our Nepal in Business program, which is specifically designed to generate employment here in Nepal, we look at renewable energy, IT, agro-processing, tourism, and one other which I've forgotten now. But you know, we are above all trying to stimulate employment through small and medium-sized, mainly medium-sized enterprises, partly by business advice, but also by direct grants. We actually want to invest in companies which employ young Nepalis. I think another part of your question about research connections brings me to climate science. I mean, if you're looking at, Nepal has so many unique things, but one of the things Nepal has is every altitude. If you're interested in global warming, you ought to be doing climate science here in Nepal. You can do it at every altitude. And that, no other country can offer that. So I'm very keen to link the global climate science network with the extraordinary agricultural research stations, places like Martha and Lunle, there's a host of them actually, which are not now as famous internationally as they should be, and I'm just trying to make sure they get linked to these climate science networks.
And we're very lucky that we have the top peaks in our country, and we definitely could do more as well. And we're very glad to have our Himalayas plains unauthorized, and we are glad that we are working together towards this. I want to directly go to Soya ma'am for this. When it comes to, you know, you have dual perspective. I was reading a bit about your bio earlier last night, and dual perspective from UK and Nepali education systems, right? The thought process is the practical steps that school leaders, school teachers could go ahead and share that knowledge, not just with students, but with teachers as well. So, share that value, share that experimentation, share that innovation. What more could we do together? And from your thought process of learning and knowing both the systems.
So one thing that really impressed me when I went to England as a parent and as a teacher was how there was inclusion, not just in terms of special abilities, but like you wouldn't know where the child has come from. So a child who was under social care, I couldn't tell the difference between that child and a child of a rich parent, because once they're in the school, they were all treated the same. There was no barrier and packages of like, this is a school for rich, this is a school for poor, this is a school for medium class. So that barrier was not there. So that created a very unified society when they grew out of the school, and when they went to college, they knew how to handle, like there was no status mindedness, and that one thing touched my heart. And as I came to Nepal, and I was really like, when I put my child in my own school, which was only the fee structure then was 2,500 per month, and my mom and my old people would be saying, are you mad, why are you putting your child in there? And it was so like status-minded, and one thing that we have to really cut off, and I think one of the reasons it's not going away is because the government schools are not doing good enough. If the day that government schools will take over, then these things would go. I think there are two places where there should be no status. One is the temple where you go to pray and worship, and the next would be school. Okay, but it's completely opposite in Nepal. So one thing that the leaders have to really, school leaders and educators have to really think about is we have to make sure that education is affordable and it is value for money for everybody. So a parent doesn't have to really take bribes to pay the school fees. Okay, so that's the situation in most of the cases. And also these entrance exams and whatnot at the very young age that just literally killed my heart. What are you going to test out of a class 1 child? What is that child going to tell you about their ability, right? And then this is also, they were filtering their parents, that's what it was. And unless that stops in Nepal, it's not going to happen. So there's a lot we have to do from our emotional and social point of view, because I brought a lot of that from England. The inclusiveness, the warmth, the equity, equality, and all of that. At the same time, on the opposite end, there's so much available for children whose parents can afford in here. In there, like my child used to come home at 3 o'clock, and I used to have to pack the swimming bags and everything, and then put the little child in the buggy and run her to the swimming pool. And I had to do a lot of parental responsibilities. There, you pay a little money, and then the school takes care of everything. So it's both of that, like it's the balance. But I think we have to wake up to the sensitiveness of the society, because when we pass out of the school, we have to be a proper human, a good human being, and that comes with inclusion.
As you were mentioning that, I have to share this story, and I see Nobel Bank's acting CEO with us. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Earlier, there was a program last week, Nobel Bank's program that I was a part of, and I remember mentioning this, and what you just said, the same thing I want to touch base. When I was young, very small, I remember Nobel Bank being the first private bank of Nepal. I remember my mom going to Nobel Bank. I remember the bank, and I'm going there and talking to the teller, getting the checks done and getting the whole thing process done. I remember I learned from what I saw from my mother, how she used to do it, and how she used to do it at the bank. So again, you learn a lot from your parent and a lot from the teachers that you meet every single day in school. So that's the same thing that you were mentioning, if I'm not
Also in
mistaken.
school, a lot of school, there's a power distance. So the principals are just like CEOs, whereas the school should be where a child should be able to come and sit in the lap of the principal. So making us an educational institution very large, like a factory, we should stop it. Because when I used to teach, we used to have 1,000 children, and that was a massive, they wouldn't allow us to take one single extra child, because 1,000 is a big amount for one principal to take care of. Here we have 6,000, 7,000 children, and the principal doesn't really care. Not care, but they can't possibly do it, right? So building a child, like actually taking part in someone's life, a child's life, is a huge responsibility. So the whole scenario of why you're opening up a school should change.
I want to come to Prakash sir right here. And how could Nepali universities and researchers, maybe even independent researchers, right, could better position themselves to collaborate with UK counterparts on research projects, or it could be initiation or potential avenues that we could collaborate and work together on in the future?
So if it is about the individuals, it's the individual for that matters. As long as the partnerships are there, we see UK aids being offered to Nepalese universities and Nepalese scholars. We have very limited budget within our own education system, limited budget for the research within our university system over here in Nepal. So it's pretty tough, but the accessibility that the consultancy fraternity or the new digital world has given to any individual is immense, that they can always look into it. There are plenty of consultants who not just cancel students for class going for the bachelor's or master's. There are plenty who now support students or scholars go and attend MPhil or master's research and PhDs. So the avenue is there. It's just someone needs to look for the right people or the right areas where they want to connect and get along with the researchers.
I was looking into a few things right here, and it was one thing that struck me was scholarships. The word scholarships that stays with me, right? British Council Great Scholarship. We also have the Commonwealth as well. Many more. In the future, when it comes to British Council and British Council work contributing towards fostering research and innovation partnerships and many other partnerships as well. Scholarships are there more things that we could do together to make sure that kids get the best of the best education, maybe in the UK itself or here?
I think in terms of scholarships, we've been doing several through the council and through the embassy as well, and most notably is the Children's Scholarship that I think is one of the most prestigious scholarship that we have in Nepal. And I think apart from that, obviously the university scholarships that exist there, which is quite accessible for the students, it's something that we try to facilitate as well. But if you ask me if there is anything specific that we're looking at...
More in the future, maybe more avenues?
Hopefully. I mean, we know that there are budget cuts everywhere, but we're very hopeful that in terms of education, it's a support that the UK Nepal partnership will take forward.
Your Excellency, in the future, more collaborations together. What could the students as well as what could friends right present here in the hall who are watching us could look forward to it?
So my dream is that the Nepali diaspora will play the same propulsive role which the Indian diaspora did, completely modernized the economy of India, and look at India now. And that was largely the work of the diaspora. And I think where we must focus, and I'm picking up on the last thing said at the end of the previous panel. I think if I understood him correctly, he said that it would be the UK-based Nepali diaspora which would be first across the bridge if we actually do enable foreign direct investment into Nepal. And that is my absolute obsession. You know, as ODA, aid money, does indeed dry up, I'm afraid in an obscene fashion. We are now having to spend some of that on the defence of Europe. It becomes even more urgent that Nepal is connected to global capital markets. And for that to happen, foreigners, and that includes Nepalis who have made the UK their home, must be allowed to invest in this country and then to repatriate their earnings so that that money comes back tenfold in a second wave. And this is a mindset problem which Nepal has not yet conquered. And really, outside the hydro sector, there is no FDI, there is no foreign direct investment into Nepal. And we've got to fix that, and we are running out of time to do so. So I would love to see the diaspora part of the answer to that. And I would also like to see transnational education as part of the answer to that. Because every tie-up between a British university and a Nepali one is a form of investment. Sometimes it's just investment in code delivering a course, but almost every way there is financial investment as well. And sometimes in both directions. And it also changes the mindset. You know, if we have better education delivered in Nepal at local prices, I think that change of mindset, which will connect Nepal to global capital markets, will happen much faster. And I don't think there's any more important question for this country.
And 100% agree with you, Your Excellency, about FDIs and obviously making sure that the economy gets better and overall prosperity is going to get better.